being a carer really means that the last thing that you're likely to do is look after yourself. It sounds a really silly thing, but it's so easy to neglect just taking care of yourself when your life revolves around looking after others.
When he first told me of his MS, I promised him I would do all that I could to help him along the difficult path ahead. We would build as much humour and silliness into our lives and take every opportunity to make at least little steps of change to accommodate this terribly debilitating illness. I'm a carer for my partner. We've been together for nearly 5 years, and he suffers with MS. It has been very challenging. The MS affects his emotions and physically. It was the emotional side that I couldn't deal with. And I finally got in contact with Care for the Carers, and they have just held my hand through it all ever since, and helped me to find a way to work through these problems. I'm constantly having to put my partner first because obviously I've got to think for both of us, but trying to do it in a way that is not belittling to him and to not disempower him. That's a big thing. He was very important in his own role during his working life.
Married to my husband in 1964, so we've been married for about 52 years. He was a professor of education. He's written various books and articles and papers. One or two people have very kindly said that he's made a wonderful legacy for people in the field of work. It's very good for me to know that his work is valued and being widely read.
We thought he'd got memory problems, and he was then diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. So it was a case of, well, I think I need to think about changing possible career, and also suppose I've got to look after him as well, you know. I used to work on the 34th floor of Canary Wharf, a flying sky-high career, and I've come crashing down to earth to the ground floor. If I wanted to continue in the career that I'd had for the last 30 years, then it was obvious I'd got to go back to the city. I thought, well, I think what I'll do is to actually give up the city. The local bus company was looking for bus drivers, and I thought, oh well, that'll do, I'll have a crack at that. Now, being a qualified bus driver, I've realised that bus drivers come from many different walks of life. The bus company have been very supportive in as much that one rota system, drivers work more frequent days but have less time off. Each individual day I can actually continue with my caring role. It's a rewarding career. You certainly see a completely different side of society.
Our lives, and I say our lives, have changed so much since we first got together. The compromises, the disagreements, the hurt feelings, back and forth, round and round. It has been so very difficult to help him and live this MS path. It's not a job where you can walk in and then leave it and go home. It's constant, 24 hours. And to have any me time is pretty difficult.
I'm Josh. I'm a young adult carer. So I look after my mum with fibromyalgia and ME. So it's chronic pain, chronic fatigue. She's been bedridden for nearly 25 years. And recently I've been able to access support with Care for the Carers, which has helped me with filling out forms and organising grants for me for learning to drive and helping me to gain independence and maintain my health and well-being. Day to day, I look after my mum and my dad as well, really. The roles we have at home are a bit mixed up because everyone's looking after each other, really, but for me, I do the washing up, I prepare meals, I clear up afterwards, I bring up food, I take the plates down, I help do the cleaning at home, I fetch the shopping, I collect prescriptions, administer the medication, look after the money, help keep track of spending, sort out the benefits, just everything that my parents aren't able to do.
I could see that his short-term memory was beginning to suffer. Seemed to lose his sense of humour that he had had before, which was a somewhat academic one, but was there. And for some time we'd been arguing about everything, and I hadn't realised that this was actually part of the oncoming form of dementia. Looking after him, trying to understand what he wants and what he's trying to say, and to keep him entertained and interested. In the last year or so, these abilities are fading.
And it's just been about me working with my parents when it was more like my mum caring for my dad. And then as I've grown older, my mum's conditions worsened, she's become less mobile, so with the help of carers, we've been able to get a mobility scooter and organise a wheelchair and everything with their support. And more recently, as I've grown older and become more independent and having to manage school and sixth form, I've kind of stepped up the role a bit more to help out at home and do more of the labour-intensive tasks like the shopping or clearing out the loft or doing the Christmas decorations. And so there's not really any clearly defined beginning or end.
There are times when I feel there's so much to do, so many different things, all screaming for attention. It's quite overwhelming to know how to cope with things, and how to decide on priorities. And I usually end up just doing the most essential chore that I can see that has to be done. And that means there's not much time for forward thinking and planning and for sitting back and contemplating the situation. I sometimes think if I were a chief executive of a firm with so many completely different things and to be considered and dealt with, I would be quite highly paid. But of course, in a domestic situation, that doesn't actually apply.
It's a bit of a fluid term, being a carer, because there's not really any one point where the role begins or ends. It's a lifelong thing, really. And
we've managed to cope now for 3 years. The other thing as well, of course, is that having looked after my father myself on my own, that is now something that I have to share with others. And I quickly realised through adult social care that we needed to get an alternative care plan on board.
I realise now how much people have to invest in time and energy in looking after someone else. And in a way, it's a little bit like having young children, except that with them you have the hope that things will improve as they learn to do more. At the other end of the age range, one can't really hope for improvement, but one hopes to keep the cared for person reasonably happy. I think that's perhaps the best thing we can aim to do it in this situation.
For me, joining the social groups with Care for the Carers and going out for bowling and laser quest and a meal and meeting up once a month, it's been really beneficial for me. Otherwise, I try to make the time to play table tennis when I can, being a part of the league, a chance to socialise and compete, and it's a bit therapeutic in a way. I like just going outside and taking in nature with the green spaces that we have just on our doorstep with the downs and the sea. And I also enjoy helping out with computers and helping people to solve any problems they have. So at the moment I'm volunteering at the local library to help people use IT.
You should keep on doing the things you really enjoy. And it's true that if I spend time playing music, practicing, or playing with friends, playing chamber music, you are with other people and you can have a meaningful conversation, and you can enjoy getting absorbed in the activity. And that gives you a bit of a holiday from the caring situation, which is the everyday pattern of life. So I feel perhaps I'm very lucky to have those particular outlets. I'm fortunate that I have those interests that I can pursue, and I have to make arrangements to see that I can continue to do these things. That does give me a sense of well-being.